All right, let's dive into the absolute chaos that is brewing in the UFC's lightweight division. Because this is a wild one. It looks like the blockbuster interim title fight that was set between Paddy Pimblett and Justin Gaethje for UFC 324 in January is completely and totally falling apart. The news is now breaking that Justin Gaethje has apparently pulled out of the fight, and you better believe the UFC is scrambling to find a last-minute replacement, with the killer Arman Tsarukyan emerging as the most likely candidate to step in and seize the opportunity. Now, while the UFC hasn't officially confirmed any of this just yet, if this is true, you have to understand this could be absolutely catastrophic for Justin Gaethje's legendary career. You really have to wonder if he'll ever get another shot at a UFC title after pulling out of a fight of this magnitude. On the complete flip side, this is incredible news for Arman, who has been clawing, scratching, and fighting for a chance at that belt. But this whole situation is definitely surprising, especially because Justin Gaethje was so incredibly excited and fired up for this matchup, seeing it as his golden ticket to one last final shot at glory before he hangs up the gloves for good. In fact, right after the fight was announced, he talked about how deeply grateful he was for the opportunity and for being part of the UFC's new era with Paramount+. He was heading into this interim title fight against Paddy Pimblett feeling confident, laser-focused, and absolutely ready to deliver a performance that the fans would never ever forget. He even said, and I'm quoting him directly here, "What a ride it is. So thankful for the opportunity to start off this new partnership with the UFC and Paramount+. Perfect dance partner for another unforgettable night to prove. Once again, I am one of the best and most exciting fighters of this era. I will be ready to go."
It's a business to build Petty and make him easy fights. But I hope Justin gonna beat his ass, kick his ass, and we're gonna forget about Petty all our life. They gave him easier because they know he's gonna lose to Ilya, and real fighters like me just watching and waiting.
And in another fascinating layer to this whole saga, Arman Tsarukyan himself had actually gone so far as to offer to help Justin Gaethje prepare for his interim lightweight title fight against Paddy Pimblett. Think about how wild that is for a second. It's an absolutely crazy move, right? A top contender, a direct rival, offering to train the guys standing in his way. Arman said he was completely ready to travel and help with Gaethje's training camp, no questions asked. He pointed out that this was likely Justin's final, absolute last chance to win an interim belt, fight for the undisputed title, and really finish his legendary career on a massive, unforgettable high note. So even though they're direct competitors swimming in the same shark tank of a division, Arman expressed this genuine respect for Gaethje's intense focus and his unwavering dedication to the sport. It just goes to show you the incredibly complex relationships and the honor code that can exist even among rivals at the very top of the fight game.
Justin, if you need the help, let me know. I'll fly to you and help you.
Really?
I mean, I want him to win, that bullshit guy. I hate him. But I hope Justin Gaethje not gonna drink, party, gonna train, dedicate himself, be focused. It's his last chance in this life. He was fighting for the title maybe 5 times. So this is his chance and the end of his career. Win the interim title, fight for the real title, and then retire. That's the best for him.
Meanwhile, you have other fighters in the division looking at this whole situation and just shaking their heads in disbelief, and Renato Moicano is definitely one of them. He expressed absolute, utter shock that Paddy Pimblett was even getting a title shot in the first place, and his reasoning is hard to argue with. Paddy hasn't defeated a single opponent who was ranked in the top. Moicano basically came out and said that from a logical standpoint, it makes absolutely no sense. He correctly pointed out that Paddy's most recent wins were against guys who were on losing streaks, including Michael Chandler and Bobby Green. So from Moicano's perspective, he's questioning how a resume like that, with wins over unranked or struggling fighters, could possibly justify a shot at championship gold. And let's be honest, it's a question that a lot of hardcore fans have been asking themselves as well.
What do you think of everything that happened? Who's giving the title shots or whatnot?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't feel that's fair, But we live in a world that is not fair, You give me a title to Paddy Pimblett, a title shot is unbelievable.
Someone that's easy money.
Easy fucking money. And let me tell you something, brother. Who he beat on the division? Michael Chandler coming off 5 losses. Tony Ferguson, 8 losses. Bobby Green coming off 3 losses. And who he beat on the top 15? Nobody. And he's still getting the title.
And you know Renato Moicano didn't stop there, either. He went on to claim that the exact moment Arman Tsarukyan's championship fight with the champion, Islam Makhachev, fell through, it was like a grenade went off. He believes that single event threw the entire lightweight division into complete and utter chaos. He broke it down perfectly by explaining that the division could have moved forward and had some real clarity if Arman had just gotten his rightful and well-deserved title shot. But with the new champion, Ilia Topuria, facing personal issues and turning down fights, this Gaethje versus Pimblett interim title matchup just seemed completely pointless and manufactured too. Moicano described it perfectly as a paper champion situation, really questioning the logic and the actual need for an interim belt at all, when Ilia Topuria should still be recognized as the one and only rightful champion of the world.
This is Arman fault. This is Topuria fault. This is, when I fought Makhachev, Arman was supposed to fight for the title, and he fucked up the division. That's the truth,
Yeah.
If we had fought that night, the division would keep going. But now we have Topuria going through divorce or something like that. He doesn't want to fight. But it is what it is. They have Justin Gaethje versus Paddy Pimblett. To me, this is going to be the paper champ. That's not a undisputed champ, and doesn't make any sense to do this interim belt because Topuria will be the champion anyways.
Yeah.
So whoever gets the belt now have to face Topuria for the unification of the belt. So to me personally, doesn't make any sense. The fight should be #1 contender. But why UFC did that? Because they solve a lot of problems with that, because Justin Gaethje was saying if he didn't get the title shot, he would retire.
And you can only begin to imagine how Arman Tsarukyan feels about all of this chaos. He was already beyond frustrated about missing out on his own title shot after putting in all the grueling work and proving, in a doubt, that he was the top contender in the world. But what made him even angrier was seeing Paddy Pimblett, a fighter he strongly, and I mean strongly dislikes, get that golden opportunity handed to him. And Arman didn't pull any punches in his analysis, arguing that Paddy only managed to secure that title fight because of his massive popularity and his huge social media following, not because of his actual proven fighting skills inside the octagon. He basically suggested that fan appeal and the UFC's business interests have started to matter way more than what a fighter actually accomplishes inside the cage, which is an incredibly frustrating reality for a purist and a true martial artist like Arman.
It's the same. He has like a followers or whatever, or his country is big, or I don't know, UFC likes him so much, or he's selling, or what he's doing, I don't know. So he got his title fight because of that.
Arman also made it crystal clear to everyone that he has absolutely zero liking for Paddy Pimblett on a personal level. He flat out said that if they ever stepped into the cage together, his game plan would be devastatingly simple and unbelievably brutal. His goal would be to dominate Paddy on the ground with a relentless, overwhelming storm of non-stop elbows. He even referenced his previous fight with Dan Hooker, where he said he was actively debating in the moment whether to go for a choke or to finish the fight with strikes. But against Paddy, he said he wouldn't even entertain the thought of a submission. His one and only goal would be to just keep dropping those elbows until he completely overwhelmed him, leaving him battered, broken, and badly marked up for the entire world to see.
Wouldn't you kind of like the opportunity to be the one to do it to him, like to beat Paddy?
Yeah. Oh my God. I would just maul his face on the ground just with my elbows. When I fought with Hooker, I was thinking, what should I do when I was on the top? Should I choke him, or I just should like elbow him? But with Paddy, I'm not gonna for the choke. I'm gonna just elbow him all day, all night, just make his face like bleeding.
Tsarukyan's frustration eventually just boiled over into a full-on, unfiltered rant about Paddy Pimblett, where he made it abundantly clear that he holds zero respect for him as a fighter or as a person. He said, and I quote, "I can't stand Paddy, and he wished that literally anyone else in the division had been matched up with Gaethje instead. Armin even took it a step further, saying he doesn't even feel like showing up to the event at all. Why? Because if he happens to run into Paddy backstage, he might just confront him right then and there. He even joked, or maybe he wasn't joking at all, about giving him a proper slap, saying he'd show Paddy the kind of hard-hitting reality check that he believes he actually deserves.
There's a saying that, like, don't hate the player, hate the game, but you hold it personally against Paddy Pimblett.
Yeah, I hate just Paddy. I hate Paddy.
Yeah.
I wish it was Oliver fighting with Gaethje or someone different, but not Paddy. I hate that guy.
Will you be at the fight? I imagine you'll go to January 24th. Yeah, you think you'll be there?
I don't want to be there because I'm gonna fight with somebody there. Because if I see Paddy, I would like to slap him. Not slap like slapping Ilya, but real Armenian slap. Maybe this is Spanish slap, like when they put on the neck, that's the slap. I'll show him like a real slap.
Now, on the other side of this divisional mess, the champion Ilia Topuria has been facing some pretty significant criticism himself, and it's mainly for choosing not to fight during the first quarter of the year. A lot of fans out there believe he's actively avoiding a very dangerous matchup with Arman, who is, without a single doubt, the #1 contender. However, Suga Sean O'Malley has a completely different take and thinks Ilia Topuria is actually making the right and responsible call by staying out of competition for now. O'Malley explains that if Topuria is genuinely dealing with a divorce or other serious relationship issues, he absolutely needs to get his personal life sorted out before even thinking about stepping into a grueling, all-consuming fight camp. O'Malley added that a fighter's mind has to be 100% ready, focused, and sharp. And with that kind of intense personal turmoil going on, this is simply not the time for Topuria to be in the gym preparing for a war. So let me ask you, how do you feel about Ilia not fighting?
I don't blame him at all. You know, if he's going through, you know, that kind of stuff, divorce and relationship stuff, you know, it's you gotta figure out that stuff, personal stuff, before you get into fight camp. Your mind needs to be ready, focused, sharp. You need a good team, good, you know, people around you, and if you're dealing with that stuff, it is not a time to be in fight camp. So yeah, I think he's making the right decision.
The legendary Michael Bisping also weighed in on the situation, mentioning that Ilia Topuria is going through a legitimately difficult and painful time outside the octagon because of a divorce. Bisping, who has seen and been through it all in this sport, pointed out that deep personal issues like that can be incredibly distracting and can seriously affect a fighter's training and overall preparation for a high-stakes fight. It's simply not something you can just switch off the moment you walk into the gym. Bisping ended his comments by wishing Ilia all the best in dealing with these personal challenges, showing a bit of that veteran understanding and empathy for the champion's difficult situation.
Ilia is going through a divorce right now, so of course that's a tough time for anybody, and it is very, very distracting. You can't focus on a fight in the training camp, and certainly an opponent when you're going through a divorce. So I'm certainly not going to talk about that any more than what I have done there. Ilia, we wish you nothing but the best.
UFC veteran and respected analyst Din Thomas took it a step further, and he actually commended Ilia Topuria for handling his difficult situation with what he called a surprising amount of maturity. He astutely pointed out that many other fighters in his exact position might have selfishly held onto the belt, postponed any and all action, and basically held the entire division hostage while they sorted things out. Instead, Ilia allowed the promotion to create an interim title so that other top contenders could compete and the division could keep moving forward. Thomas also respected the fact that Ilia was self-aware enough to recognize that his personal challenges could negatively affect his performance, and he made the tough but honorable decision to step aside rather than rushing into a fight he knew he wasn't fully ready for. He concluded by wishing Ilia success in resolving his issues, so he could return fully prepared to compete at his absolute best.
Well, first off, my hat goes off to Ilia for doing that, because a lot of fighters would be like, no, I'm going to hold on to it and make everybody wait. So my hat's off to him for pulling that, the Khalil, not Khalil, but the Jamal Hill and the Yuri Prohashka, right? Like saying, right, you know, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let these other guys fight for it and let them shake things out the way it needs to shake out. So even though he's not relinquishing the belt, he is letting somebody fight for the interim belt. So my hat's off to him for doing that. And when you have personal problems, you're not going to be able to fight well. And he understands that. So hats off to him for also recognizing that and not just trying to push through, because typically we'd be like, oh man, he should be fighting anyway. But the fact that he's recognizing that he's not going to be able to give us his best work and he needs to sit out for a while, hopefully things get better for him. And I'm wishing him all the luck and success in getting those things behind him so he can come back and fight.
On the other hand, in a fascinating reveal, Arman Tsarukyan dropped a bombshell, telling everyone that the UFC's original secret plan was to book a January fight between Paddy Pimblett and the champion Ilia Topuria. Arman said he knew about this planned matchup all along and didn't expect it to change, not even after his own spectacular, career-defining victory over Dan Hooker. Why? Because the UFC's business plans were apparently already set in stone, according to Arman. Everything only got thrown into total chaos when Ilia withdrew from the fight, which forced the promotion to pivot and take a completely different approach, opening the door for all this interim title drama we're seeing now.
I already knew that Paddy gonna fight with Ilia Topuria in January, but I didn't know they're gonna do interim title versus Gaethje and Paddy. But I knew that UFC wants to do Ilia versus Paddy, and on my mind, I didn't think like if something happened, even if I knocked him out, because they already set up that all things. But at the end of the day, Ilia didn't fight.
It's pretty clear that Arman Tsarukyan feels like the UFC is deliberately building up Paddy Pimblett, positioning him for a massive money fight against Ilia Topuria, all while completely overlooking him and his accomplishments. This is all happening even though he is supremely confident that he can beat absolutely anyone in the division. He went as far as to describe both Paddy and Justin Gaethje as E matchups for him, which is a massive statement. He also said that even the champion Ilia wouldn't truly challenge him, noting that the only fighter who has ever given him a genuinely difficult fight in his entire career is the former champion and pound-for-pound king, Islam Makhachev. In his mind, nobody else in the current lightweight division is even close to being on his level right now.
I think this is UFC game plan. It's not like a family issue or something. It's they want to make star Paddy Pimblett and to bring him to fight for the title with Topuria, has a bigger name, and make it like a big fight, like Khabib versus Conor. But they're not, even if he got the belt. They know I could beat everybody. That's why they didn't give me title fight. Paddy, for me, it's a easy work. Justin, it's a easy work. Ilia, easy work. It was a hard work, Islam, but he left. So nobody on my level in this division right now.
Looking back at the fight that might not even happen now, the legendary Michael Bisping described the proposed Paddy Pimblett versus Justin Gaethje fight as a really competitive and absolutely fascinating matchup on paper. He pointed out that even at 36 years old, Gaethje remains an explosive powerhouse, with formidable wrestling, incredibly sharp striking, and of course, those devastating fight-altering leg kicks. Bisping also argued that his shocking knockout loss to Max Holloway doesn't accurately reflect his typical performance level and was more of a fluke moment. At the same time, Bisping gave Paddy Pimblett his due credit, praising him for his dominant win over Michael Chandler and his perfect, undefeated UFC record, calling him a very real and legitimate threat in this potential matchup.
But this is a very, very tough competitive matchup. Now, Justin Gaethje is no spring chicken. I think he's 36 years old. But you know what you're going to get with Justin Gaethje. Yes, of course, against Max Holloway at UFC 300, he got knocked out. He got embarrassed. He got face planted. I tell you what, it was a shocking scene, okay? But that's not normally what happens with Justin Gaethje. He is one of the most exciting fighters. They do call him the human highlight reel for a reason. He's got great wrestling, but the boxing, the striking, the leg kicks, the punch power that he has, I'm telling you, this man is no joke. And neither is Paddy Pimblett, right? We saw last time against Michael Chandler, he is the real deal. He absolutely smoked him. He's undefeated in the UFC, put a beating on Michael Chandler.
From Michael Bisping's perspective, this fight represented Justin Gaethje's final, monumental opportunity for a career-defining win that could propel him to one last title shot. He noted that Gaethje has already fought for titles against absolute killers like Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. And while Paddy Pimblett is certainly a less intimidating opponent on paper than someone like Makhachev, Bisping stressed that he still poses a very, very serious threat. He predicted that Pimblett would likely try to rely on his movement and his footwork to avoid getting into a brutal firefight with Gaethje, who possesses that one-punch, lights-out knockout power. But he also warned everyone against underestimating Pimblett's overall skill, and in the end, Bisping saw it as an absolutely excellent piece of matchmaking by the UFC.
And for Justin Gaethje, this is the final go. This is the final crack of the whip. The man's had 2 title fights in the past, Charles Oliveira to Khabib Nurmagomedov, and now he gets to go up against Paddy Pimblett. Now, talking about the matchup, of course, it is an easier fight for Justin than what it is against Khabib Nurmagomedov, one of the greatest of all time. Islam Makhachev, the current pound for pound, and according to many people, a man that is surpassing Khabib Nurmagomedov, right? So in that regard, it is an easier matchup. Will Paddy be able to take him down? Will he dance around the octagon? Yes, he will. Will he try and replicate the game plan of Max Holloway? Of course he will. Who wouldn't try and do that? You aren't going to stand and go toe-to-toe with Justin Gaethje because the man does have knockout power. But underestimate Paddy at your peril. That's all I'll say about that one.
Meanwhile, Din Thomas offered a really insightful take on the whole situation, explaining that this kind of matchmaking perfectly reflects how the new broadcast partner, Paramount, is influencing the UFC's decisions. They are clearly favoring fighters who can grab the fans' attention, generate conversation, and create massive buzz. He said this creates a really difficult set of expectations for the athletes, who are now pressured to not only win their fights, but also to put on incredibly entertaining, high-risk, highlight reel performances every single time they step in the cage. Thomas added that grappling-heavy, methodical fighters like Arman Tsarukyan often receive far less recognition than fan-favorite brawlers like Justin Gaethje, even though everyone in the sport knows Arman would jump at the chance to take a fight for the interim title if it were offered to him.
Right. Well, I know someone who's not happy, and I'm sure that's Arman Tsarukyan, right? I'm sure he believes he deserves to be in this fight, and he was saying even after the win, like, didn't take any damage. If they want me to fight in January, that's when he's being asked about Ilya, but I'm sure if they called him to fight either of these guys for an interim belt, he would have done it.
You know, and it's unfortunate, too, because we put this burden on these fighters, but it says a lot, though. It says a lot about the direction that Paramount wants to go with the UFC, really. It says that, listen, we want guys that are going to bang. And it's an unfair burden that we put on fighters to say, we want you to win, be successful and win it. And you also have to entertain us by putting your neck on the line and taking a lot of chances and taking damage in the process. Because when you got guys like Justin Gaethje, that's what they do, but they're fan favorites. A guy like Arman Tsarukyan might not be a fan favorite because he's so grappling oriented.
Din Thomas really thinks that Paramount is guiding the UFC's hand, pushing them to focus on the fighters who can attract the most viewers and sell the most pay-per-views. He noted that, at the end of the day, the sport relies heavily on fan interest to grow and thrive financially. And while a fighter like Arman Tsarukyan absolutely deserves a title shot based on merit and will almost certainly get one eventually, Thomas explained that the UFC's current priority seems to be on fighters who deliver non-stop, edge-of-your-seat, exciting performances. This business reality makes it much harder for athletes who prioritize pure technical skill and a strategic victory over putting on a wild, chaotic spectacle for the crowd.
So it's kind of telling of where the direction of where they want the UFC to go, because they're trying to get eyeballs, man. Without eyeballs, the sport goes nowhere. So for Arman Tsarukyan, he might have to sit out for a little bit, but you know, he definitely deserves it, and his time is coming. It's just, I think right now, Paramount and the UFC is kind of establishing that, you know, we're going to want some entertainers in there. And if you're not entertaining us, if entertainment is not a part of your priority, then that might be an issue.
And of course, veteran MMA journalist Ariel Helwani had to weigh in, sharply criticizing the Gaethje versus Pimblett interim title fight from the very moment it was announced. He immediately questioned why the clear top contender Arman Tsarukyan was being completely ignored and left out in the cold. Helwani described the matchup as makeshift, comparing it to a BMF-style attraction rather than a legitimate championship bout for the best in the world. He also argued that an interim belt wasn't even necessary in the first place, since Ilia Topuria already holds the undisputed championship. Helwani contended that the UFC should have simply waited to organize a proper number-one contender bout later in the year, and he was left wondering, just like many of us, what more Arman could possibly need to do to finally secure his shot at the title.
The number one contender at 155 pounds is a guy named Arman Tsarukyan, and he's not involved in this fight. This is a makeshift fight. This is as prestigious as a BMF title. God bless. I said I wanted to see Paddy fight for the belt. God bless. But this is a bogus fight, and it's insane to me that it is headlining over Kayla Harrison versus Amanda Nunes. On paper, Paddy versus Justin is a fine fight to determine the number one contender to fight Ilya and or Arman. Ilya won that belt back in June. I don't even think you need an interim title fight. Honestly, it should have been the co-main event, 5-round, number one contender fight, Ilya versus Arman, second half of the year. What's the problem with that? And now what you just said, because he reiterated this in the Instagram Live, the winner of this fight is going to fight Ilya. What happens to Arman? Arman's going to have to fight who? What is going on? What does Arman Tsarukyan have to do?
So, to get a shot at the belt, now, that's all the drama and all the updates we have for you in today's video, and hopefully you enjoyed breaking it all down with us. This whole thing is a mess, right? What do you think about this absolute chaos in the lightweight division? And who do you think should be fighting for an interim title, if anyone at all? Let us know what you think about the upcoming UFC fight card down in the comments section below. And hey, if you want to stay on top of all the latest updates and breaking news, make sure you subscribe to our channel. We'll catch you in the next one.